Manage Windows with Ansible. Ansible is a configuration management platform that can be used to manage Windows operating systems easily. So we're going to take a quick look, a technical overview of how to configure Ansible for Windows management. Now, why Ansible for Windows management? Well, there are several reasons, but first and foremost, Ansible is one of the easiest configuration management platforms available. It's quick to get up to speed and gain value from the framework of Ansible very quickly. It's also agentless. Now, this is a big one when it comes to the lifecycle management of Windows Server and other endpoints. Agents provide a layer of complexity. So the fewer agents you have to manage and configure and continue to update, the better. Ansible also can manage Windows and Linux. In fact, it cut its teeth on Linux management, but its Windows management capabilities have vastly matured. It can manage both on-premises and cloud technologies. So if you are looking for a platform to provide configuration management not only in on-premises environments but your cloud environments, Ansible provides that hybrid cloud functionality businesses need. So let's dive in and take a look at how to set up Ansible for Windows management. Okay, so we are ready to get started to see how we can build out our Linux box for managing Windows. And yes, that sounds very contradictory. We're using a Windows server as the target. However, we are going to install Ansible on an Ubuntu 2104 installation that I just happen to have in the lab. So Ansible is at home on both Linux and Windows platforms as far as the control node, the node that you're going to use to actually perform the configuration management of your Windows hosts. However, you can also load Ansible on Windows as the management platform as well. So what I've done, I've got just a bare bones Ubuntu 2104 installation. I've installed the updates, and what I wanted to show you guys is, or I guess just by way of overview, what are we going to do? What are we trying to accomplish here? Well, we're going to, in this quick technical overview of standing up Ansible to manage Windows, we are going to install the prerequisites as well as Ansible. And then I'm also going to quickly show you how to get your Ansible control server ready to integrate with Kerberos, because most that are going to use this for Windows environments are going to have Active Directory running. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you guys I can ping the domain controller that I have running in the lab, so that's good. Now, by way of prerequisites, what I have done is I have a simple notepad document that I'm going to just briefly overview with you guys as to the requirements that I am going to install. So we have a lot of what is listed here are Python related as well as Kerberos related to have Ansible in a place on our Linux server where we can actually integrate with Active Directory. So if you were simply going to just install Ansible, a lot of these prereqs are not needed. However, in my opinion, if you're going to want to configure your Ansible environment to be valid for controlling Windows and configuration management, these are the components that I am standing up in my lab. So as you can see here, we've got some Kerberos related prereqs. We've got Python 3 pip. We have, of course, pip3 install. We've got pywinrm, which is one of the requirements for managing Windows. with Ansible, because if you understand or have seen Ansible work in the past with Linux, it uses port 22, so it SSHs into Linux boxes for management. So with Windows servers, it actually uses WinRM, which makes sense. So we install prereqs related to WinRM, Kerberos, and of course more Kerberos related prereqs. And then finally we have our Ansible installation. So what I am going to do, I'm going to show you guys. So what I have is that same grouping of prereqs, and I have those in just a simple sh file. So just a shell script file. In fact, if we go back here, and I'm going to look at install Ansible, and we can see this just a little bit better here in this window. So the same requirements, same file basically, as I brought up in that notepad document. So just wanted to show you guys that first of all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to launch that script, and it's going to go through and it's going to install those prerequisites. And what I will do is I'm going to post those prerequisites in just a simple list of what you need to install to get up and running managing your Windows servers in the description for the video. And also I'll link it out to my GitHub page as well. So what I'm going to do here is get the script run. And actually, let's see, let's do change mod on that to where we can execute, and then we will install our prereqs here. Okay, and you're going to see just everything starting to install. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, pause the video on my side and then come back to you guys once the prereqs as well as Ansible are installed. One quick screen I wanted to grab as the prereqs were installed or are being installed is the default Kerberos version 5 realm configuration. So as you can see, it will populate with just the generic that comes out of the installation for Kerberos. And I am typing in all uppercase the Kerberos domain realm for my environment. So I'm going to do that, and I believe we get another Kerberos message here shortly. Getting some kernel messages. I've got a reboot. So, and that may be the only one. So I just wanted to show you guys that that screen will pop up as you are installing some of the Kerberos dependencies. So be back here shortly. Okay guys, came back from installing the prereqs as well as Ansible. We can see that Ansible is indeed installed. Get a return on the commands and everything, so we're all good there. One thing I wanted to now go into, now that we have the prerequisites installed for managing Windows with Ansible for configuration management, is configuring Kerberos. Now, this is a bit intimidating sometimes to people with trying to configure Ansible for Kerberos, but actually it's not too bad, and I'm going to walk you guys through how to get this up and running fairly quickly. So what I'm going to do is swap over to WinSCP. I'm going to go to etc, and down to, there is a file that is called KRB5. So let's edit that, and straighten this up here so you guys can see what you see in this default KRB5 config file is the default just kind of example data for configuring your realm as well as your domain information as well as server information. So what I have that I'm going to paste in for you guys is I'm going to paste in the configuration file that I have for the my lab domain. So what I'm going to do here, close that out. I want to paste that in so you guys can see it nice and neat on one screen, and just kind of walk through this. So we've got just simple sections. We've got a logging section. We have a lib defaults, which defines the default realm, crypto configuration information, and then we've got a realms section. So what you have to do is just with this syntax in the KRB5 file is define your domain, your realm, and define the servers that are responsible for authentication. And as you note here, I am using all uppercase for the domain. I know early on I ran into issues when I was working with Ansible trying to get Kerberos working correctly using lowercase. So as you noted in this installation screen when I showed you guys how I just backed over the test.local, the example file was all uppercase. So I'll put that in as all uppercase. So we want to mimic that in this KRB5 file. And that's what I've done. So basically this is the information for my lab domain that I have running. So hopefully we'll be good there. And as I showed, I think I showed this earlier in the video. Oh, let me save that. I think I showed this, but want to make sure that we can ping that server, which we can. So this is the domain controller that is hosting that realm that we need to use for Kerberos. So what we need to do now is issue a command called kinit, and we pass in the administrator account or whatever account you want to use to bind with. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, uppercase, typing in the password. And if you don't get an error, that means that it's successful. And we can list the command or use the command klist to actually see that Kerberos ticket that we received. If you want to get rid of a ticket, you can, if you want to get rid of all tickets, Kerberos tickets, you can say kdestroy. And now if we go to klist, we don't have anything. So again, let me go back to administrator account, klist, and we have our Kerberos ticket. Now, as you can see, it gives you an expiration time for this ticket. So, you want to make sure that your Ansible operations that you are actively authenticated. So, because this, just like in the real world with domain authentication and other areas, those tickets do expire and have to be renewed for security reasons. So that is that. Now I want to, now that we see that we have a Kerberos ticket, I'm going to go through the structure of the files that we need to work with Ansible. So I have just in the root account, my home directory, I have just a simple folder, call it Cloud Local. And as you can see, I've got just simple structure here. I've got a group vars folder and I have a VMs folder. And then I also have an inventory.yaml file. So in this inventory.yaml file that I have on the server, I'm going to edit that and just show you guys the contents of this file. Very simple. But basically in Ansible, what we're going to do is we can have groups of servers, and then for those groups of servers, we can have different connection mechanisms, whether we're using WinRM, SSH. We can have different tasks, so to speak, that we want to run against those groups of servers. So if you think about this, this is like roles of servers, if you will, lists of servers that we want to group together to run certain commands, certain configuration management, as opposed to other servers. So I have a couple of different lists of servers in these blocks, and notice they're in brackets with the server name, all caps domain. So I've got those listed in the inventory file. So with Ansible, it uses this inventory file to work from. So we can, when we start working with the commands, we can pass in various roles that are contained within that inventory file. And then also I have a group vars folder. Now this group vars folder also has a YAML file, and notice how it's named according to the role that is defined in inventory once again. So we got VMs enclosed in brackets, and then we've got a VMs, we've got group vars, and then we've got vms.yaml. So it knows to match those up based on the naming convention. So here is where Ansible actually knows how to connect to your group of servers, Windows servers, because here I'm specifying I'm wanting to use the same username that we listed out and got the Kerberos ticket for using the kinit command. So I have the domain user, I'm telling it I want to connect via winrm, the Ansible port, which is the winrm port here. I'm using Kerberos. I want to ignore certificate validation, and we've got Ansible become set to false. So that is our group vars. So it knows based on that information how it's going to make the connection to the particular server that's listed, or servers that are listed. Then inside of the VMs folder, I have tasks and templates. We're not going to worry about templates for this tutorial, but I have the tasks folder. KRB5 is not supposed to be in here. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to show you guys the main.yaml file. So under tasks, main.yaml. And what I have here, let's do edit, not open. What I have here is a simple playbook that is going to use Chocolatey to install Google Chrome. So simple. We're going to basically use an Ansible, the Ansible command win_Chocolatey, and we're going to tell Ansible to use that module to install Google Chrome. So again, simple. And we're going to show how simple and easily this playbook results in success for automated installation of that software. So again, main.yaml, these are tons of other files that I've copied and tested various things, so just ignore those for now. I'm going to go back up again to the directory structure so you can see those. So now let's go into actually testing connectivity to the servers in question that we want to control with Ansible. Now, to test connectivity to servers we want to control, there's a very simple command, and we're going to use a certain syntax here. So we're going to say Ansible. We're going to use the inventory name. So we're going to say Ansible VMs, tell it the inventory file, and then -m win_ping, and we're going to do just verbosity 1v. Now with Ansible, you can do the more v's that you add, the more logging detail that you get. So I'm just going to do a single v here. So what this is going to do, it's going to go out and hit every server that I have listed under VMs, which at this point is just one server, telling it the inventory file, and then this special Ansible command win_ping. Now what win_ping does is it goes out and uses winrm to ping the server. In other words, see if it can successfully connect via winrm, which is, you know, a prerequisite. If this fails, then we can't really move on until we resolve that connectivity to the servers. So really handy command. So I'm going to hit enter, and I've got to be in the directory where I have my inventory. We're in the command again, hopefully different results here. And as you can see, scoot this up a little bit here. As you can see, we have a success. So the Ansible control node that I am currently on, tell you what, I'm gonna go up here and let this run again so we can have it in screen. So the Ansible control node, it goes out winrm, and it has successfully hit a server that is running, have listed in the inventory, and when you see a green response, that is good. So, I mean, obviously it says success, so we know we're good to proceed with actually running Ansible commands and configuration management on this server. So again, this tells us we also are good from an Active Directory standpoint because we're using that user with that Kerberos ticket that we created earlier to connect to Win22 Ansible, which is a Windows Server 22 box that I have running in the lab environment. So now we know we're good to move forward. So what I'm going to do is show you guys as well. I'm going to look at, let me grab this file real quick, and we're going to So now that we know we have good connectivity, we're going to run the task that has been assigned for this particular set of VMs, or single VM in this case. So if you go back in, we pulled this up earlier, we're going to run this main.yaml file. So I'm going to look at it and show you guys what we're dealing with. Again, we're using Chocolatey, the Ansible module win_chocolatey, and we're going to install Google Chrome. So that is the simple automation that we're going to perform at this point. So here is Win22 Ansible server, and I have it up and running. No issues, clean box, does not have Chrome installed. Should be able to see the Chrome icon eventually show up on the desktop. So that's how we know it's successful, along with obviously the successful message that we're going to get using Ansible. So to actually run the Ansible playbook, we're going to use a different command. We're going to use the Ansible playbook command. We're going to pass in the inventory file, and we're also going to pass in the playbook file. Now, let me back up real quick. I'm going to show you guys. I have copied in the install chrome.yaml file, which is the file that we had in the group vars folder under the task folder. But I'm going to show you guys the simplest way to run this playbook just directly from the Ansible playbook command line. So what we're going to do, once again, we're going to say Ansible playbook, inventory.yaml, and we're going to simply pass in the install chrome.yaml file. Actually, I don't need the install chrome.yaml file. I'll do 1v here, and we will let this run. Now, what Ansible's doing, it is looking at the playbook. It's looking at the inventory machines that are contained under the VMs role that we have. And the reason for that is, if you remember in the install Chrome YAML, and I'll show this after completion, the host entry points to the VMs inventory group. So we'll look at that. And I'm going to pause the video just for a second while this finishes up, and we'll take a look. Okay guys, so we are back. The playbook just finished. It only took maybe 15-20 seconds. And as you can see, we got some feedback here, output from running the Ansible playbook command. We get an OK. We see what directives were changed, or how many things, I guess if you will, items in the playbook were changed, which is helpful. And we don't see any that were failed, skipped, unreachable, and we see this designated in yellow. And that's one thing about Ansible output is it normally does a good job of color coding everything by default, so you can kind of easily spot errors or things that need attention. So if I flip over to the Windows Server 2022 box, we can see that I now have Google Chrome. So pretty cool what Ansible can do, and this is just managing Windows from the command line using Ansible. Super easy, lots of really great playbooks that are already out there. You know, I've used Ansible to kick off Windows updates, to configure Windows servers like in lab environments, if you need certain BG-info settings, if you need certain software installed, if you need utilities, whatever the case is, any type of configuration, really handy to be able to quickly and easily, just with a little simple command line, be able to manage your Windows configuration management from such a powerful tool. So I hope this video has been extremely helpful to you guys. If you're looking to get your feet wet with configuration management using Ansible to manage Windows Server, it's super easy to do. Even with Kerberos Authentication, as you can see, just a couple of files that I needed to change, getting those credentials, putting the text files in the right place to know how it needs to connect using WinRM, and then configuring your playbook. And so super easy. So hopefully you guys have found this helpful, and will subscribe to the channel. I look to have more how-to videos and technical overviews of various technologies that I find extremely helpful in the various roles that I encounter in the enterprise. So until next time, guys, I really enjoyed it. Please, once again, hit like, subscribe, and check out the channel for future videos.